The door hits the stopper and rattles the fishing lures pinned to the frame. Pine and coffee ride the air. Morning light sliding across plank floors toward the stone hearth. Marcus Cole doesn't move. He has the posture of someone who learned long ago that stillness can keep a room from tipping. The HOA president, blazer tight and breath short from the hill, steps over the threshold without asking. Two board members follow, already filming, their voices rehearsed. They speak of violations, an unapproved ramp down to the dock, a porch handrail that dares to be cedar, a mailbox that keeps its original brass. "We've recorded a lien," she says, as if the word itself can move walls. Marcus rests his fingers on a folder. The leather edges are worn by years of careful hands. The top document shows a date that belongs to another century. He considers the faces in front of him, neighbors who used to wave from kayaks, then looks past them to the lake where the wind frets at the reeds. He asks if they have a warrant. They do not. They answer with the phrase, "Committees hide behind emergency inspection." The word emergency curls in the room like smoke and smells just as wrong. By the table, a woman in a navy blazer closes a case of papers and sets one palm atop it. She has the unhurried calm of someone who is used to being the last word. No one gives her a second glance in the rush. The president points to the ramp outside and announces a fine for alteration without approval. Marcus says softly that his father uses a wheelchair and that the ramp follows state accessibility code. The president waves the code away like a fly. She reaches for the notice pad. The woman beside Marcus rises. Her badge is not loud, but it is clear. State of your state. Office of the Attorney General. She offers the smallest of nods. Not a show, just identification. The board members lower their phones without meaning to. The president's practiced speech fractures into silence. Beyond the doorway, the lake holds its light. Inside, the temperature of the room changes by degrees. The shift you feel when shade reaches your chair. Marcus inhales once, slow and full, as if after a long swim. He has been waiting for this conversation to begin in truth. The lake, the man, and a promise in paper. Marcus knows this cabin the way some people know hymns. His great-grandfather tacked the first boards in, place after long days at the sawmill, shaping a home from scrap and grit. Over a century, the cabin grew the way trees add rings. Porch added, windows widened. The stone hearth rebuilt after a rough winter. Every generation left something. A carved initials rail, a cedar chest, a habit of making room at the table. The lake taught them kindness by demanding care. No one cuts a cove and calls it progress. You learn the names of plants, the pattern of loon calls, the safe places for kids to swim. Marcus left for a while. He served as a combat engineer, learned the quiet art of building strength where there was none, and returned with hands that preferred tools to microphones. When his dad's legs began to tire, Marcus built the ramp with a carpenter's love and an engineer's caution. He matched the stain to the old wood, set footings below the frost line, and read the code until it felt like a language. He sent plans to the HOA, though the map shows his parcel sits outside the founding boundaries. The first reply was polite. The second was a warning. The third called his ramp non-conforming and threatened daily fines. He answered with copies of recorded deeds, a conservation easement that protects his shoreline, and a letter from the county that says the state code outranks stylistic preferences. The tone of the letters from the board changed the way skies change before a storm. Words like uniformity and enhancement arrived with numbers that climb like ivy. Neighbors began to speak in lower voices. A realtor knocked and asked if he'd considered selling while values are hot. Marcus said he planned to leave his mother's lilac bush right where it stood and closed the door with gentle hands. Not all eyes looked away. A retired title officer across the cove watched the speed of the board's actions and called a friend downtown. The friend worked for the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Unit. "There's a pattern," she said, "not just one address." The AG, Elena Marsh, had been reading similar letters from other towns, associations, stepping beyond their lines. Liens laid across properties they could not lawfully reach. Accessibility called a violation when it was a lifeline. She chose to see for herself and asked Marcus if she could meet him at the lake. He brewed coffee strong enough to stand a spoon and set out the papers like bread on a table. He did not expect an audience. The board members regained their voices first. "We didn't realize you were visiting," one says, eyes flicking from badge to camera as if either could save him. The president blinks, then reaches for dignity that won't come. She insists they have authority to inspect any property that affects the community. Aesthetic, Elena listens without interrupting. She asks a single question, her voice gentle. Which page of the recorded covenants grants power to enter a private home without consent? The president points to a handbook written last year, not to the county record. Elena waits. The handbook grows smaller in her hand. Neighbors gather at the porch rail, pulled by the noise. Some fold arms. Some hide behind sunglasses. Most look like people who did not expect to spend a Saturday watching policy collide with paper. Marcus slides a fresh copy of his deed across the table, the kind stamped in blue that makes clerks sit up. He adds the conservation easement and the accessibility permit from the county. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. The documents are the kind that talk quietly and still carry a room. The president tries a new path, safety. She claims the ramp might lower value. Elena glances toward the lake and then back, choosing the words that do not bruise. Accessibility is not a downgrade, she says. It is a right. She asks the board to step outside so their counsel can join by phone. They do not move. Pride and habit keep feet where wisdom says leave. A pair of cars crunches to a stop on the gravel. A deputy from the sheriff's office walks up the path, not summoned by drama, but by Elena's office when she set the meeting, in case the morning required a neutral presence. He stands in the doorway with a calm that looks like shade. Elena explains that this is now a consumer protection review, not an HOA visit. The deputy nods. The board member's shoulders drop the length of a rule book. The president stares at the ramp as if it has betrayed her. Marcus presses his palm flat on the folder to keep from trembling. He thinks of his father, napping 2 rooms away in the way. His breath steadies the whole house. Elena's team documents the morning exactly as it unfolded. Times, statements the moment the latch turned without consent. No raised voices, no door slams. Only a record clean enough to carry weight later. She advises the board that any lien tied to the ramp or to features protected by the easement is void, that entering without permission places the association at risk, and that her office is opening a broader inquiry into practices that stretch bylaws past the law. She invites the president to sit and read the deed. The invitation is an exit ramp from embarrassment to learning. After a long beat, the president sits. Within a week, letters go out. The lien is released. Fines are rescinded. Mandatory training is ordered for the association's leadership, and a consent agreement requires restitution of fees collected under the same flawed claim from other homeowners. A public statement changes tone from certainty to care. The neighborhood feels different after that. Quieter, kinder in the ways that matter. The retired title officer hosts a workshop on understanding your deed. The county posts a clear page explaining accessibility rules. Someone plants milkweed at the edge of the cove. The lake seems to approve. Elena returns once more, not for headlines, but for coffee on the porch. Marcus has added a small ramp to the dock so his father can feel water on his fingers again. Neighbors cross the yard with folding chairs and pie. They talk about shoreline plants and shared tools. No one mentions fines. The board president arrives late with oatmeal cookies and an apology that sounds like a person choosing a new road. Marcus accepts it the way he does most things, gratefully without keeping score. 3 lines from that summer keep traveling around the lake. A deed is a promise, not a suggestion. Accessibility is dignity made visible. Respect is cheaper than lawyers. When the sun drops and loons begin their evening call, the cabin breathes the way old houses do, slow and content. Marcus watches his father roll to the edge of the dock and smile at water that has seen everything and stayed. A rush through a door met a wall of calm law. A neighbor chose patience over noise. A leader remembered that power is service, or it isn't worth much at all. If this story reached you, share where you're watching from and the line that stuck. Tell us about a time a community chose respect over control. Subscribe for more cinematic stories that honor quiet courage, clear rights, and the steady work of making homes safe for the people who love them.